The NFL Draft is less than a week away. After months of mock drafts, posturing, rumors, the NFL Combine, Pro Days, and team visits, all the rumors and speculation will soon culminate in the reality of the event. Over the past few seasons, interest in the draft for fans of the Denver Broncos has been at an all-time high. Given that the regular season results have left many fans wanting a look ahead to the future coupled with higher-than-normal picks than the organization is accustomed to, Broncos country's spike in interest in discussion surrounding the draft is likely here to stay. The Broncos, after years of what felt like ineptitude during April and finding players that can impact the team, finally seem to figure it out in the 2018 draft. From such early home run hits like Bradley Chubb and the great, and luckily, undrafted free agent signing of Phillip Lindsay, as well as flashes in early contributions from Courtland Sutton, Josie Jewell, Royce Freeman, Deshaun Hamilton, and Isaac Yiadom, the team appeared to find their groove in their process of finding future Broncos. Despite the praise for the 2018 class, which by all means was a good haul by the organization, the Broncos still only improved their win total by one game over 2017. Of course, picking as high as no. 5 overall each round makes it easier to select better players than around the bottom of each round, like the Broncos did during the Peyton Manning era, but still, the improvements in finding players who can make an impact is a step in the right direction. Even the best rookie class has limited year-one impact however. Just how much of an impact did the rookies make last season? Chubb and Lindsay were obvious game-changers and impact players day one for the team, but the rest had their ups and downs. Sutton flashed but was inconsistent. It typically takes about 3 years for wide receivers to show who they will become anyways. Look no further than Demaryius Thomas's early years for example. Hamilton was able to get open consistently but wasn't afforded the chance to make too much of an impact. Freeman, Yiadom, and Jewell flashed and were given chances to start, but for every good play, a bad one seemed to follow. From the physical limitations of Jewell, to the slowed down and hobbled Freeman, to the inconsistencies of Yiadom, most of the Broncos' 2018 class played as is to be expected, like rookies. Normally, rookies don't make a massive impact in year one. Outside of picking in the top 10, where blue-chip players and obvious talent abound, the rest of the draft is a lottery. Expecting large year-one contributions from any rookie is a tall order, especially beyond the top 50 of a draft class. It takes time for most players to develop from the college game to the pros both physically and mentally. It is one reason why grading draft classes a year after the fact, let alone immediately following the event, is in vain. Given that the rookies typically don't make much of an initial impact, the Broncos are still an average team on paper with a multitude of unknowns and a new quarterback, coaches, and scheme change, and are set to face one of the toughest schedules in football in 2019. So how should that knowledge impact their draft? No, reaching the answer is quite simple in theory, but harder in practice. Do not reach for need. John Elway and the Broncos did a really good job this off-season in adding to the roster to eliminate almost every glaring immediate need. The team upgraded at quarterback, finally found a right tackle to believe in, and added 2 big additions to the secondary. The team could probably still use a more surefire starter on the interior offensive line and tight end to compete and complement Jeff Hoyerman, but still, overall the holes aren't desperate. Get access to 100% of our deep dive draft content, Broncos film breakdowns and our insider forum by becoming a Mile High Huddle 247 Sports VIP subscriber. Be the most informed Broncos fan you can be. Subscribe today. With that stated, looking over the roster from the past few seasons and how it has changed over time, anyone should see by now how quickly it needs change. The wide receiver group with Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders was one of the best 1-2 punches in the league, but now is transitioning to younger players with Thomas gone and Sanders coming off injury and on the last year of his contract. The edge rusher position, once laden with depth and talent, is down to Bradley Chubb and Von Miller as their only surefire players. The no-fly zone, while reinforced in free agency this offseason, went from a strength to a weakness in just 2 seasons. The point is, needs fluctuate very fast. What does this mean when it comes to the draft? Simply put, reaching for need is silly. Sure, need is calculated by teams when creating big boards for draft day. For example, the Broncos will give a boost to interior offensive linemen on their board as opposed to running back. However, when a team paints themselves into a desperate corner by only looking for one position in a certain round, that is where mistakes are made. The Broncos are not a single tight end away from Super Bowl contention, so if their best player on the board is an edge rusher, but the team wanted tight end there, the smart team would take the best player on the board and go for edge as opposed to the tight end. Bottom line, in the short term, this may not improve the team as much as tight end, but over the duration of the rookie's contract, taking the best player is the tried and true best practice. The Broncos are an improved team. Just as the 2018 team was better than the 2017 team, the improvements can be small and hard to see because they're dependent on so many factors. Injuries, coaching staffs, and how the schedule plays out have as much of an impact as the actual talent on the roster. Furthermore, given that this team is desperate for talent across the board in a multitude of positions, this means Denver can be more open to letting the board fall to them and taking talent as it slides into their time on the clock. Front offices the reek of desperation, giving off early warning signs that their time is coming to a close, panic and reach for need in the draft. Good teams just let the board fall to them and pick up players that they rate highly via character, scheme, and talent. Given that the Broncos are not likely to be contending for a Lombardi Trophy in 2019, and that the roster has a number of areas that could use fortification, the Broncos would be wise to take the best players available, and the best fits, regardless of needs on the roster. Doing so may not end up helping the Broncos as much in 2019, but it would give them the best chance in building a contender going forward. Elway seems to prioritize winning now, but in the draft, the focus should always be win from now on. Let's block ads. Why?